Hello, beautiful people. It's Saturday. Another beautiful day. I've was guided to kind of just rest and take a step back this week and not be as vocal or to post as much as I had been. It's been kind of how these things work is you go through cycles where you take action and put your intentions out into the world, and then in order to receive, there is a point where you're expected to then allow those seeds to grow and be willing to obey and listen to what you're being told. And I was being told to just take it easy and relax. So that's what I've been doing the majority of the week. So obviously on Monday was the last time I did a video. I posted a few things throughout the week just talking about the situation and how it's becoming somewhat unmanageable at this point. You might say reaching a boiling point. So yesterday, after weeks upon weeks of pretending like they weren't keeping tabs on me or watching me, which I've known the whole time. Like I've said, that's just not true. My entire life has been watched and under somebody's thumb, always in my business, always watching and relaying information about what I'm doing. So the idea that all these people that I'm under the same house as not tracking or watching my content was never realistic. They were simply just pretending like they had no idea what I was up to, hoping that I would just spin my wheels and burn myself out and give up. They could continue to do what they've been doing my whole life. But finally yesterday, I haven't talked to my dad at this point for over 2 weeks, and I made it clear to my mom how I felt about everything. So they decided to sit me down and have a heart-to-heart conversation, which obviously went exactly how you would expect. Confirmation. The universe agrees. Yeah, not ideal. More gaslighting and lies straight to my face. At this point, nobody's going to... Oh, universe is very feisty. think not only myself, but the higher powers are pretty much over this situation. Yeah, they tried to tell me that everything that I've been saying, that I just dreamed it up. They still think that I have some sort of leak or source that's feeding me these crazy ideas into my head, like an actual human who's telling me this stuff, and that I'm just taking the bait and believing what somebody else tells me. They still don't understand that I'm being divinely guided, that my source is the source, Almighty God, the universe. You know, my mom wants to play ignorant about the GATE program, gifted and talented children, that she didn't deny that I was in it, but she doesn't know anything about what it is or what ultimately they do to children to make them forget and not develop their God-given gifts and basically their superpowers that we possess within us. I've talked about me not being a unique story. It will turn out my story in a lot of ways probably is unique, just how deep in the absurdity of it all, the sheer amount of people who have been involved. But on a broad scale, this stuff is common practice. It's happening all around us. It's happening to some of you. You have been brainwashed. You have been made to forget. And people, whether in the school system, whether in your family, whether people you consider friends, have all been part of it to make you forget. The fish are going crazy today. So I wanted to this video won't be too long. It's kind of an impromptu video. I didn't have a topic. It's not aimed to teach any specific long lessons or anything. It's just me kind of recapping the madness that continues to ensue around me. But I posted some stuff last night, and another awakened soul posted on one of my messages about how we can't react to these things. And he made mention of, I think the guy's name was Viktor Frankl. He was in a concentration camp during World War II, and he talked about like smiling every day not letting them get that reaction out of you, and how it's just a bunch of hurt people who, don't know anything other than to hurt people, to hurt other people, because was their experience. I 100% agree with him that the cause of all this is these people who, and I know the trauma and the hurt that these people went through in their childhood. They've never opened up to me about it, but that's what I do. I study the conscious and unconscious and behavioral patterns, and I listen and I observe. I know how these people felt growing up and the types of relationships that molded them, that they never healed from. And then when somebody like me comes along who's willing to do the work and to stop that cycle of hurt, they somehow resent it. They get jealous and envious of somebody who would choose to rise above it and not just continue the cycle of what's comfortable, what they knew. It's all they ever known. So that's how they act, but they put on their masks and they pretend to be something else. Good Catholics or Christians, good fathers and mothers and sons and daughters. Real quick, I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent, talking about the Catholic Church and how we view the serpent and Eve in the Bible, how we view the serpent as the devil, the temptation. We vilify Eve for taking a bite of the apple. It's supposed to be a lesson of just be happy with your circumstances. You have it all. Don't be greedy. I don't take it that way at all. That's not how I've ever interpreted that story. I think that is the short-sighted, small view of what that story actually teaches. So we're told that all this knowledge exists. Once again, I think the universe is agreeing with my take here. All this knowledge exists. We have the option to stay comfortable, stay in the illusion that everything is good and pure. The illusion of Eden being this perfect utopia. However, that's not the God I know whatsoever, that tells you not to be curious, not to seek knowledge. not to learn. That's quite the opposite. The God I know would say, are you willing to break out of your comfort zone? Are you willing to bite the apple and deal with the harsh realities, the real truth that exists? Are you willing to expand your mind and view things for what they actually are and get the full story, the true, real story, as scary as it is, with all the good and evil that comes with it? Like Eve, I have no problem biting into that apple. I have no problem with what I find when I do it. I would much rather know what things really are than to live in this perceived comfort, the bubble that we are told is our reality. For me, it was never very comfortable anyway. So it was a pretty easy choice for me. But for a lot of people, that fear of the unknown, of change, the dogma and the rejection of others when you actually think for yourself and seek knowledge, use your own brain to interpret things, not be fed the company line. It's easy to control how people see things. They begin to think that that's what they want to. They just want to be stuck in Eden under a rain of lies, having people control you, but you just deny it all. Anybody who suggests such things is crazy, and the reason that these people are crazy is because they're the ones willing to bite the apple, and they're not afraid. They're not afraid of what comes with knowing the real truth. So to tie it into the story, I said that the other awakened soul had left on my Facebook. I agree with 100% about that these people can't control my mind. They never will. They will never convince me that what I know is not the truth. That ship has sailed, that they have the ability to gaslight or sway my interpretation of any of this. I know what it is. They can lie all they want. I know the truth. My ancestors know the truth. God, the universe knows the truth. Deep down, they know this truth, and they know what I'm saying is correct. It's only a matter of time before it plays out. But to bring it back to Viktor Frankl, my friend was saying, we can't react. We just have to smile, and no matter how long it takes, they can't control our mind. You can't let them isolate us and keep us down, basically. But how I will respond to that is they haven't done any of those things to me. I still have a smile on my face. I still have control of my mind. They don't own my mind. But I would say if Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp and chose to just wake up day in, day out and smile and accept his fate at his abuser's hands, literally feet to the fire of these people who are oppressing an entire group of people, holding them against their will, torturing, raping, killing, all this stuff. Horrific. If he had the capability that I have, which is social media, to reach people, and he remained quiet and just accepted this fate, I don't think that's the answer either. I think he would be a fool to do that. So we have to not just have a smile and not give the reaction that they want, but it's not just about me. There's many, many people, like I've said time and time again, who are impacted by these things that are happening. I just happen to be aware of it. But it's my duty to continue to talk about it and continue to, whether you want to call it react or just speak on, I'm not going to stop. It's my responsibility to awaken, to help people remember things that other people have worked very hard to make them forget. I've had to do a lot of work. I've had to go through a lot of pain and struggle. I've had to overcome a lot of things to remember, to get to where I am. I'm on the front lines when it comes to this stuff with a lot of other people who are meant to awaken, to go through this stuff when the whole world thinks you're crazy, because we're meant to expose it and awaken the masses to what's truly going on. And once that happens, as I've said before, we will be the ones there to guide you guys through it. When it feels like all hope, when the illusion shatters and everything you think you know turns upside down, somebody like myself, who basically had to weave his way through all of this nonsense and all of the lies and the deception and the manipulation on his own, with no support, and continue to do what's best for humanity, what the universe was asking of him to do, which is speak on it and bring this stuff to light. So yeah, if Viktor Frankl had social media and chose to just basically keep to himself and smile every day, I would say he's not doing his duty. It's all well and good to have that mental fortitude and be able to stay strong for yourself. But what about all the other people? You need to tell your story. We need to speak up and start telling our stories. My story's not the only story that is this crazy. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. All the things that we see in the movies that we think is fairy tale, let me ask you a question. Do you ever wonder what Club 33, Walt Disney, that's the club that I had talked about. The wind is active today. Club 33, Walt Disney, the guy who wrote or made, I know that they stole a lot of these fairy tales from the Brothers Grimm and Chinese culture, and going back, these stories aren't new. These fables or fairy tales that have been passed down generation to generation, they just get a rebranding and they get made by Disney into the princess movies that we all know, a lot of us love. As kids, we watch them thinking that it's all made up, that this stuff doesn't exist. But if you remember Club 33, remember the relevance of 33. Maybe Walt Disney knew a lot more than we were led to believe. Maybe he knew that these things weren't just fairy tales, that this is exactly the type of things that go on. If he's part of, I know he had connections to Werner von Braun, who I talked about being one of the scientists that came over from Nazi Germany. Talk about another connecting the dots or the web. There's a lot of propaganda, Nazi propaganda early on in Disney's history. There's a lot of interesting things about Walt Disney that have been scrubbed clean. But all the stories have these themes that just so happen to be real magic, real love spells and enchantments that get put on people. And 33 just happens to be the number of an enlightened master teacher who have knowledge in these Masonic organizations. The elite know these things. So you ever think that maybe Walt Disney just happened to profit off of these stories that seem so fantasy, these fantastical tales, but deep down they're just actual truth hidden in plain sight, actual things that exist, that all these elites, all these people in power very much aware of and use in their favor. You could just put Walt Disney as part of the media, the propaganda, controlling what we consume, just like Edward Bernays and the propaganda that came out of Nazi Germany. You can William Randolph Hearst and yellow journalism. When you look at it, it's all elite at the top of the food chain who have weird connections to one another. They all understand psychology and what people will believe, and they know how to control our minds and program, basically put us under these spells. But yeah, as I've said before, what I'm here to do is to break them, reverse it, make people remember. So I guess I'm getting a pretty strong sign from the universe to talk about these fish. They've been literally at the banks, like making a lot of noise. So to wrap this up, I would say I'm back in my hometown. I'm at a small body of water with some small fish that are very active and stuck in this confined body of water. That's a good metaphor for what they were hoping my life would be. They wanted to keep me as a small fish in a small pond, scared to branch out, scared to chase my dreams, scared to go after anything I wanted, to show off my creativity, to go on to the big stage. They wanted to keep me just happy being a small fish that they would throw a little. Me and Riley used to feed. There was a koi pond at the hotel that I stayed at. We used to feed the fish every day. That's what they wanted to do with me. They wanted to keep me in the small pond, tell me when I could eat and how much I could eat. Never to go off and swim on my own, like Finding Nemo. You know, I was not supposed to go off past the, I forget what it was called, the cliff or whatever, where Nemo finally went with the other fish and it started the whole thing. They wanted to keep me in the little confined section. That was never meant to be my story, though. I was always meant to be a big fish. I was always meant to swim in a big pond. Maybe even an infinite pond. Just open water as far as the eye can see, limitless, no borders. I've talked about not being put in a box or confined. It's the same idea. I feel like it was blatantly evident as a small child that I was destined for something far more than just being a small fish. I think that scared a lot of people because, like I said, all this stuff is real. They know a lot more about us than we think, what we're capable of. Somebody like me is dangerous to the systems and the ideas that they want us to abide by and to believe are Eden, if you will. So there's, from an early age, been widespread Catholic Church, government, my family, my friends, my future family, all these connections that everybody has with each other. They've, my entire life, been keeping tabs on me, trying to keep me depressed, trying to keep me addicted, trying to keep me stuck in my small pond. But I found a way to open water, and there's no way I'm ever going back. So, yeah, that's the message for today. Gonna sit out here for a little bit longer and enjoy the weather before I go back and upload this. But yeah, I'm not gonna sit by and never comment and always have a smile on my face while people continue to play God in my life. I'm at least going to let people know what's truly going on. So for anybody who was hoping that I would stop, that's not in the cards. But yeah, anyway, hope everybody's having a great weekend. I love you all, and I'll talk to you guys soon.